What if a country that had long been dismissed as poor and ignored by the world was actually sitting on 50 billion barrels of oil? In 2025, whispers spread across Africa. Russia's energy giant, Gazprom, had discovered a hidden ocean of crude oil beneath Burkina Faso. The reserves, people said, were so massive they could rival Libya's and transform the entire Sahel region. But if such treasure really existed, then why were Burkinabe told for decades that they had nothing? And who had the power to keep such a colossal secret buried? The rumor didn't spread quietly. It thundered. One morning, Burkinabe woke up to hear that Gazprom had found reserves big enough to put their country among the world's petroleum superpowers. The number shocked everyone. 50 billion barrels. This wasn't just wealth, it was transformation. Reserves on this scale could rival Nigeria, overtake Angola, and even match Libya, Africa's top oil producer. And the timing was explosive. Burkina Faso had only recently expelled French troops, starting a new era of sovereignty. Under Captain Ibrahim Traoré, suddenly, the story of Russian-linked oil felt almost divine. France had been pushed out, and now the land itself seemed to reveal its hidden riches. Social media fanned the flames. Images of oil barrels, rigs in the desert, and shiny pipelines flooded WhatsApp groups. Infographics compared Burkina Faso's supposed reserves to global oil giants. Young people began saying proudly, "We don't need foreign aid anymore." Some even dreamed of a United States of Africa, fueled by Burkinabe oil. In the capital, Ouagadougou, the rumor turned into public debate. At Joseph Kizerbo University, students packed lecture halls demanding that any future reserves be immediately nationalized. Taxi drivers argued over gas prices, imagining a future where Burkina Faso would export petroleum instead of importing it. Village elders, however, cautioned with wisdom. They reminded people that natural resources can lift nations or destroy them. They spoke of Nigeria's troubled delta, of Libya's endless wars. What made this rumor powerful wasn't just its scale, but its plausibility in African eyes. For years, official records insisted Burkina Faso had zero proven oil reserves. International databases, energy reports, French-linked surveys all said the same. No oil, no gas, just dust and scraps. But many Africans never believed those records. They had seen foreign powers downplay, manipulate, or hide Africa's wealth. Time and again, and the silence from global markets only deepened suspicion. Normally, a discovery this size would send oil prices soaring, investors rushing, OPEC scrambling. But outside Africa's media circles, nothing. No geological reports, no official contracts, no confirmation. For many Burkinabe, that silence was the loudest proof. If Western papers weren't printing it, maybe the truth was too dangerous to admit. People recalled bitter lessons. Niger's uranium lit up France, while Niamey remained in darkness. Mali's gold filled foreign banks, while Malians stayed poor. Guinea's bauxite was long underreported, only to later be revealed as one of the world's largest reserves. So why couldn't Burkina Faso's oil fit the same pattern? The bigger question hung heavy. If France did know, how had they hidden it for so long? This wasn't chance, people argued. It was control. Declaring Burkina Faso a resource-poor country wasn't bad luck. It was colonial strategy. When a nation is convinced it has nothing, it never demands ownership of its land. It signs deals on foreign terms, not its own. Control wasn't just about resources, it was about money, too. France kept its former colonies tied to the CFA franc system. forcing them to deposit much of their foreign reserves in Paris. With mining concessions and energy contracts added, France held near total grip, deciding what came out of the ground and even how African nations could spend what little remained. Geological surveys themselves were part of this system. For decades, they were run by French or French-linked institutions. Data rarely reached Ouagadougou. It was filed in Paris, classified, and selectively released. A single line in a report could declare a site non-commercial, erasing it from local memory forever. That's why the 2025 oil rumor hit so deeply. Burkina didn't just hear oil. They heard confirmation of a long-held suspicion that France had stolen not just resources, but truth itself. Deception wasn't only economic, it was psychological. To strip a people of the truth about their land is to chain them in the mind. So the cover-up theory emerged. This wasn't a new discovery, but an old secret finally surfacing. And why now? That was the question. Why, after France was expelled and Russia stepped in, did the whispers suddenly erupt? Coincidence or geopolitics? For decades, France was the Sahel's gatekeeper. Its soldiers patrolled the streets, its companies mined the earth, its bankers managed the money, and its surveys dictated what Africans could know about their own soil. As long as Paris held the pen, the story was always the same. Burkina Faso has nothing. But 2025 was different. Captain Ibrahim Traoré tore up the script. He expelled French soldiers, shredded one-sided contracts, and declared openly that Burkina Faso's destiny would no longer be written in Paris. And in that new era, the oil rumor caught fire. Suddenly, people believed that Russia's Gazprom had uncovered vast reserves beneath Burkinabe's soil, perhaps 50 billion barrels. Whether true or exaggerated didn't matter. The timing made it feel like proof that Traoré's defiance had lifted the colonial veil. For the public, it wasn't coincidence. It was confirmation. Proof that their leader's rebellion had unearthed long-buried truths. France wanted to keep us poor, young Burkinabe shouted in markets. But Traoré made us rich. Commentators on radio argued, even if the rumor was only half true, it still justified the independence struggle. In this story, Russia wasn't the hero. Traoré was. Gazprom's name was attached to the find. But, in African eyes, it was Traoré's courage that made it possible. Geopolitically, the symbolism was devastating for France. For generations, Paris denied oil existed in Burkina Faso. Then, just months after its soldiers were expelled, whispers of hidden wealth exploded. The message was simple but lethal. France lies, Traoré reveals. Even if the reserves were exaggerated, the story itself was revolutionary. It wasn't just about barrels of oil, it was about dignity restored, about people demanding to know why. They'd always been told they had nothing. And that was Traoré's greatest victory. He turned suspicion into sovereignty, rumor into resistance. By breaking French chains, he gave his people the freedom to ask, to challenge, and to look beneath the official narratives. In doing so, he became more than a leader. He became a symbol of Africa itself. For Paris, that was the real disaster. Oil is valuable, yes, but credibility is priceless. And France had lost both, because in the Sahel, people now believe their own history, instincts, and leaders over any foreign report. That's why this oil story refuses to die. It's no longer just about barrels hidden underground. It's about Africa's stolen future. Even if Burkina Faso never pumps a single barrel, Traoré has already uncovered the most powerful resource of all. His people's belief that their land holds more than they were ever told. And that belief cannot be buried again. So now the question is yours. Do you believe France really hid Burkina Faso's oil from the world? Is Ibrahim Traoré the leader who can finally turn Africa's buried wealth into power? If you want more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to Nick G channel and hit the bell icon.